Hi there, folks. Welcome to the first A Minute to Midnight show for 2025. Had a bit of a break for the last week or two, and today I'm back coming to you from New Zealand, and with me I have Leo Homan, frequent guest last year and hopefully again this year. So welcome, Leo. It's good to be talking to you again.
Hello, Tony. Absolutely good to be with you. Thank you.
And, of course, there's just been nothing happening, so I don't know what we're going to talk about, there's no news.
Right.
I'll tell you what, before we go anywhere, I don't know what your thoughts are on Donald Trump talking about Canada and Greenland. At the moment, I'm thinking, now that sounds like Mr. Globalist kind of talk to me.
Well, yeah, especially if you consider all of the other statements he's made in the last couple of days vis-a-vis Greenland, vis-a-vis the Panama Canal, and Canada becoming the 51st state. He sent his son, Don Jr., on a mission to Greenland. Did you see the video that he posted?
No, I haven't. I knew his son had gone, but I haven't seen the video, no.
Yeah, his son, Don Jr., is in what appears to be a cafe in Greenland with a bunch of people, mesmerized and filming with their phones. They got chosen to be in the cafe with Don Jr., the president's son, and Don Jr. has his daddy on the phone in this video that's posted to X, and Donald Trump, the soon-to-be president, is talking on the phone, telling the people of Greenland how they really need to become part of America. There's, for their safety and security. There's been too many ships recently sailing around Greenland, he said, that are from the wrong countries. And in order to be safe, basically, he was saying you need to align yourself with the United States of America. And couple that with statements he made at his press conference at Mar-a-Lago this morning, where he said a journalist asked him, could you assure the people of the world that in light of your comments about Greenland and the Panama Canal, that you won't try to achieve these goals by military force? And Trump's response to the journalist was, no, I cannot assure you of that.
Wow.
And so it really does sound like Yankee imperialism on steroids, heading towards January 20th, the inauguration. And top it off with this. There's actually a couple more points I'd like to make on this very same topic. And this is all coming from a person who voted for Trump, by the way. Okay, so I want to clear the air right now. I'm not some never Trumper. But anyone with an ounce of Christian discernment can see that the incoming president is apparently going to be much more aggressive than he was in his first term in achieving his goals. Some of that could be good. Some of it could be bad. Okay, that's all I'm trying to point out. And there's plenty of people pointing out the good aspects, the potential good of all of this. So, let them have that podium, and I'm going to point out the bad since nobody else is really doing it. I say nobody, I mean relatively a handful of people in the conservative movement are giving a balanced overview of what we can expect in the incoming Trump administration. So I'm going to err a little bit on the negative side because there's plenty of optimists out there who think President Trump is going to fix all of our problems. We don't need to worry anymore. We can go back on our couches, drink our beers, and go back to sleep, watch our football, go to our rock concerts, and just forget about all this stressful stuff going on in the world. Donald Trump is going to take care of it all. He is our new Messiah. I can't tell you, Tony, how many times I've even seen conservative Trump sycophants in recent weeks even apply spiritual aspects, spiritual attributes to the 47th president of the United States. I heard one guy a couple days ago say that Donald Trump is open to being used as an instrument of the Holy Spirit. I kid you not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who it was
Yeah.
because my phone would probably start blowing up, but he was a conservative Trump sycophant. I'll leave it at that. And I'm a Trump supporter. I would put myself in that camp in the sense that I voted for him. I clearly saw him as preferable to the alternative. We had, two people on that ballot, and I chose Trump. Does that mean I'm going to support him every step of the way and not point out when I think he's going into error? No. That's what makes me different from a Trump supporter as opposed to a Trump sycophant. But the other points I would like to make, in light of what we've already covered, Trump talking about making Canada the 51st state, Trump talking about retaking the Panama Canal, and Trump talking about very seriously purchasing, annexing, or somehow bringing into the U.S. orbit the vast landmass known as Greenland, which of course is wealthy with natural resources, right? And so it's very attractive to the United States. With all of that out there, as we've already reported, let's consider this bombshell. Kevin O'Leary, who is a bit of a TV personality with the show Shark Tank, okay? He's a businessman. He's a Canadian citizen. He's an entrepreneur, and he has this show called Shark Tank that's very popular where, he hears these proposals from other budding entrepreneurs and, puts his money into some of them or tells others that their idea is flawed and get out of my sight, Anyway, Kevin O'Leary, appeared on Fox News yesterday or the day before and said that he recently had a meeting with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. He's friends with Trump. And encouraged him to revive the old idea of creating a North American Union.
That's exactly where I was going to thinking. I was going to say, all you need is Mexico to join as well.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and then Trump came out today at the same press conference where he was talking about Greenland, Panama, and what have you. And the journalist asked him, can you guarantee that you won't use military force to accomplish these goals? And he said, no, I cannot guarantee that. He also at that same press conference said that we need to and we are going to. He didn't say we need to. He said, we, the United States, the United States government is going to rename the Gulf of Mexico and call it the Gulf of America. Did you see that?
No, that's news to me. Wow.
So that's just check another box right there, along with what Kevin O'Leary was saying and what he said about Greenland, what he said about Canada. Now we want to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Donald Trump is going to usher us into a North American Union, which has been a key globalist goal for decades. You'll recall George W. Bush was the last president to really push that. Interesting how the hated Joe Biden, as awful as he was, never talked about the North American Union that I'm aware of. But yet here we are coming in with a conservative Republican president and who never really touched on that during his first term either. And he's now promoting a return to this idea, this failed idea of the North American Union, where we would create an economic trading bloc with a common currency. Kevin O'Leary clearly said the goal would be to retain our sovereignty as Canadians, but we would merge our economies and have a common currency and a common central bank. The Bank of Canada and the U.S. Federal Reserve would merge and create one big economic glob. and which would compete with the EU, the European Union, and of course the BRICS coalition of nations. And that may be what's driving Trump in this direction, because in his first term, the BRICS was not a thing. Okay, now it's a thing. The Russians, the Chinese, the Indians, the Brazilians, the South Americans, the the Emiratis, and several other countries are forming this BRICS coalition of nations. It's an economic powerhouse, or has the potential to be. And Trump is spooked by it. I mean, let's face it, Trump is a globalist. The only thing that he is different from the Democrats on when it comes to foreign policy is he's a globalist that wants to make sure that the United States is at the head of the table in this new world global order. Whereas these other more leftist globalists, they're both globalists and traitors, I guess you would say, because they're for creating the exact same globalist system that Trump wants, but they want to, cede power, cede their seat at the table, and replace it with, China or whoever gives them the best deal. They just want to profit personally, I think. Look how the Biden crime family has profited personally off of their foreign policy initiatives and just the Biden name. Trump also, I think, wants to benefit from it financially. We have seen that. But he, I think, also wants to try to at least make sure or bargain in such a way that the American citizens at least get a few of the crumbs that fall off the table, right? Whereas the Democrats want to just give the farm entirely away. Trump says, yeah, let's give it away, some of our sovereignty, and make sure the U.S. is a leading figure in this new world order, if not the leading figure. But we need to do it in such a way that we don't give all our jobs away, and we don't allow all the world's immigrants to come in through our open border. At least we'll pick and choose the best and brightest of these immigrants. That's why he said he's in favor of the H-1B visa program a couple weeks ago, whereas in his first term he said it's not good. We need to get rid of these H-1B visas, which allow foreign workers to come in and take American jobs for 1/3 less money. Now he's in favor of it. And so is J.D. Vance, and so is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, his Doge, government waste people. They're all for these H-1Bs, and so now he is as well. And then the final thing I want to mention, besides him renaming the Gulf of Mexico and all these other things, Trump announced today a $20 billion investment in AI data centers in the United States, with a Emirati Arab Muslim guy who is going to invest billions in the United States, building these massive data centers, which are needed for the massive amounts of data storage that will be required for artificial intelligence. You tell me, people, that Trump is not on board with the digital surveillance state. Everything is lining up in that direction. He wants a North American Union, and he wants to cull all this data from the people and store it in these massive data centers so they can have absolute 100% information awareness of everything going on. And AI, I don't know if he's aware of how dangerous AI can become when we reach artificial general intelligence, which we're close to accomplishing, according to the Sam Altman, owner of ChatGPT. He said we're very much on the cusp of achieving artificial general intelligence, which at that point AI becomes more intelligent than all the human knowledge in the world. And we're moving in that direction, but we need these massive data centers to be built. We need them to be built quickly, and Trump has announced a $20 billion plan to do that. So this is just a rundown of the news from the last 24 hours, Tony. It is stunning what we have learned about Trump in the last 24 hours. Of course, 90% of the voting public here in America will tune all of this out. They will have not, if they heard of one or two of these things, or they won't hear all of them, but even if they did, they would not connect the dots like I have just done for you here in the last 10 minutes.
So, look, I'll be honestly, since 2015, I've believed Trump was the globalists' pick. Like, I knew he was going to be president in 2016, had a fair idea he would be this time, but not to the same assurance I had the first time round. But to me, it's the Hegelian dialectic. There are controllers above Trump, above Biden, and I just see that they've had this left-right paradigm and they're moving the pieces to where they want them to go. And Trump's always been their pick to do that because everyone's sick of the left-wing stuff, all this nonsense. And so they'll accept anything that Trump does, a lot of the people now, because it's got to be better than those commies, you know?
Right.
And so it's very clever.
That is the most frequent comment you will get if you ever criticize President Trump from his supporters. They don't know what to do with this information. Yeah. So all they do is throw up their hands and they say, well, what would you rather have? What's the alternative? You know, would you like to have Kamala as president? No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't vote for Kamala. I voted for Trump. But does that mean I'm going to be a Trump sycophant and put my rubber stamp of approval on every single thing he does without ever putting on my own thinking cap and using critical thinking skills? No. The day I will ever become some sort of automaton for any politician, Trump or otherwise, I will always use my own critical thinking skills, and I will always filter everything I see and hear from a politician through the lens of the Holy Bible. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, like I've kind of been watching this stuff unfold. You know, like I've believed all along that Trump has been the globalist pick to take people where they globalists want them to go. By globalist, I mean there's people behind, shadowy figures. We don't even know necessarily who the top ones are. But there's a league of people above politicians, because above the World Economic Forum even, and that they're trying to drive us to this one world government system. Obviously, not everything's going how they want all the time, because that's just the world and that's just human nature. But they're steering the ship to where, you know, even if it's in a roundabout way, to where they're trying to get it to go. And if you look at Bible prophecy and Revelation and the book of Daniel and so on, it's pretty obvious where it's going to end up. How quickly, we don't know exactly, but you can definitely see the pieces starting to fall into place big time. All the technology's there to create this system now, a one world government system, and then all you need is a pandemic, like a bird flu one or something, and then we've got who pushed the last, lot of serums initially.
Yes. I mean, and a lot of these moves, these shockingly aggressive moves that President Trump has been talking about in the last 24 to 48 hours with Panama Canal, Canada, Greenland, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. You know, this almost sounds more like a king in action.
Yes.
These type of decisions than it does a president of the United States, where we are supposed to have a representative democracy, a republic. But these seem more like kingly moves. And I can't help but think back to the ancient Israelites, where they cried out to God for a king.
Yeah.
They were not satisfied with God ruling over them through the judges that they had at that time, just these lowly, modest judges.
Yeah.
They wanted a flamboyant, powerful king like all the other countries had. And by golly, God said, okay, I'll give you one.
Mm-hmm.
These Trump sycophants should pay heed to those well-articulated Bible stories, because they weren't just stories. They're actually true events, and you should think about, how did that end up? How did that work out for those ancient Israelites? They got their king, and they ended up getting their eyes off of God and falling into a state of what do you call it? Like lukewarmness, as it was described in the book of Revelation. So, you know, Americans are much the same. I see them right now, Tony, as much the same as the ancient Israelites. They're not. They see all these problems in the world and in our country, and they're looking to an earthly king to fix them for them. We don't want to take the responsibility of resisting the New World Order and standing for righteousness and truth, because we know that will bring what? Persecution our way. And so many Christians are afraid of persecution. I mean, nobody loves persecution, but by the same token, that's usually, if you think about it, trials are what usually going through the trials is what makes us grow in our faith. But rather than accepting that and growing, we want to lay it aside and say, we'll put our faith in this man, this politician, to do the hard part for us. He's going to fix it all. And I just don't think it's going to work out any well for America than it did for those ancient Israelites.
No, you're right. And it is really interesting looking at people like Justin Trudeau as well, resigning, a young global leader and so forth. It's just, I think we're heading to the next phase of whatever that.
I think you just hit on something, because this the timing of that is extraordinary. Yeah. Just as Trump, the arch conservative, American, jingoistic American first politician, is rising back to power in the U.S., we see Trudeau, the left-wing communist authoritarian villain, he's resigning. And Trump is talking about making Canada the 51st state, in line with all of these other things that, taken in their totality, lead us to think that he's got something up his sleeve similar to the North American Union, which, by the way, they might call it something else.
Yeah.
They may not call it the North American Union this time. Trump is famous for rebranding things that are old ideas that sound new and innovative when he talks about them, because he's called them something else. Like, instead of 15-minute cities, he calls them freedom cities. Well, the North American Union may be another aspect where it has a nice, nifty, clever little title for it that will not even ring a bell in most people's head. Oh, wait, that sounds a lot like the North American Union proposed by George W. Bush. And who else was it? Senator Cruz in Texas proposed that. And his wife was with one of the big banking companies, and she was also in favor of it, if you recall. But then they deep sixed that idea, put it on the shelf because it was highly unpopular. But lo and behold, Trump will come along, rebrand it, give it a nice new name, and people will say, the same people who were against it when Ted Cruz and George W. Bush brought it forth will now come out and be for it. You watch. And so, yeah, we really have to be careful here, because the power of words, my goodness, the power of marketing. Trump, if nothing else, is a expert marketer. Yeah. He's a sales. If you really boil Trump down to his bare essentials, he is a salesman.
Yeah.
And he knows how to make a sales pitch better than any other politician living in the world today.
He's also an actor too. Let's not forget he's had acting skills.
A lot of the best salespeople are also good actors.
Yeah. So, and I'm even thinking about the whole border wall, and then the identifying people and all of that. Getting rid of the illegal immigrants and so on. That's people will go, yes, that sounds like a great idea. We the country's gone to a mess because of all this. But then again, I see that as a deliberate thing. They've allowed this to happen so that they have to come up with a response and a solution to it. And Trump can come in with the solution, which may appear to people to be, oh, good, this has got to be better than that mess. But in the end, it's just part of the control grid.
100%. Yes, I agree with that analysis. 100%, Tony. I mean, here they, for 4 years, have allowed everyone to come freewheeling through that border. Now they're all talking about, Mike Turner, congressman from, I believe, Texas, is it? Don't hold me to what state he's from, but he's a Republican congressman who is in charge of one of the like Homeland Security Committee or one of those powerful congressional committees, and he was on the Sunday talk shows this weekend talking about how we've got all these terrorists within our borders now, and we need to do this, that, and the other, and expend all this new money to find out who and where they are and get rid of them. Well, where were you, Mike Johnson, for the last 4 years when we had the open border? I didn't hear you saying a word about defunding any of Joe Biden's ridiculous open borders policies. So give me a break. You're exactly right, Tony. They created the problem, not just Biden, but the Congress who allowed Biden to do it. And now they want us to be all afraid and panicked. And when you're afraid and panicked, you usually don't come out and make good decisions. And that's what I think is going to happen. We're going to see, we had the extreme communist policies under Joe Biden. Now we're going to have an extreme reaction to those policies under Trump, some of which will be good. I like Tom Homan and what he's doing. Don't get me wrong. We do need to evict a lot of these freeloading immigrants, the ones who aren't being productive whatsoever, and the criminals especially.
Yeah.
But this could go awry. This program could absolutely go awry and go south very quickly if we start seeing violence and violent pushback against these eviction policies, and find ourselves on the brink of civil war, because now you've got these millions of migrants taking up arms, and you've got the liberal Americans willing to as well as shelter them and defend them as well. I could see where this could become a big violent
unless they roll out another pandemic, which gets everyone too afraid to do any of that. And then we have another round of serum to be taken by everyone. And we've seen people do that the first time so easily, by and large.
That's another potential scenario, no question. In fact, with the first human bird flu death in Louisiana yesterday, vaccine stocks were skyrocketing on Wall Street today. Moderna and Novavax, I think, were up 10% because they have bird flu vaccines. And the third maker of bird flu is one I hadn't heard of before. Their stock jumped 5%. That is absolutely, you're exactly right, another potential scenario that we could go down with lockdowns and vaccine mandates and forced masking of the population. And what happened last time we had COVID lockdowns and all of that going on? What happened? Under Donald Trump, they installed the 5G network, wireless network, here across the United States. So absolutely something bad could be going on again under the dark hours of a bird flu lockdown.
I could be wrong, but my memory, I think, tells me that catastrophic contagion rundown thing that they did, the fictional
2022.
date.
That was in 2022.
Yeah, but the fictional date for it was February 2025 from my memory.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it was 2025. I don't know about the month, but I do believe that the fictional date was sometime in 2025. You're right. And so, there's a lot to keep our eyes on in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Keeping one thing in mind, I tell people, you're always going to be led astray if you are not continuously focused on Jesus, and particularly focused on what he said in Matthew 24. That these last days would be marked by persecution of the believers and deception, a deception that is so strong that if possible, even the elect would fall victim and believe the lies that are being promoted in these last days. I think we need to keep our focus on that.
Absolutely. So where can the listeners find you and your writing, your newsletters and things?
Yeah. I am at leohohmann.com, Hohmann spelled Hohmann, 2 N's. And also my Substack is very active. I post 2 or 3 articles there every week, leohohmann.substack.com. I'm also on Telegram. I have a channel there, a public channel on Telegram. If you search for Leo Hohmann, author/journalist, you'll find me on Telegram.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Well, I'll let you go, Leo. It's been great having you on the show again, and I'm sure we'll have another discussion soon after Trump is in office, and we'll see where things are progressed by then.
Yes, I still have some hope for a Trump administration to at least slow down the march toward this New World Order, but some of that hope is fading quickly as I listen to what he's been saying over the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again for being on the A Minute to Midnight show, Leo.
Thank you, Tony. Always a pleasure.
Cheers. And folks, remember our website, aminutemidnight.com. Please make sure you are subscribed to us by going down the right-hand side of the page and entering your email address where it says subscribe to blog. And A Minute to Midnight is run 100% by donations. Thank you to the folks that do donate. And if anyone else wants to help out through donating, you can do that at aminutemidnight.com by our donations page, and that's always appreciated. And the music used I've written, played and recorded. So God bless, God willing, we'll be back with another episode in a few days' time.